Hi everyone. So today I bring you Hoffman Virtual Photography. He is a super talented guy and is part of the reason why I jumped into Instagram, and in my opinion is super professional. So let's hear about his process right after the intro. Okay, from this point forward, we are in the show. This will probably be on YouTube. And again, thank you so much for accepting the invitation to be on the show.
Yeah,
For my first
absolutely.
question, if I've been watching and I know you've been watching, why the name Hoffman Virtual Photography? I calculate that Hoffman is your real name.
Well, it's my last name, and I'm not super creative, at least with writing things. I mean, obviously, to be in the community, you have to have some sort of creativity to create this art that we make. But when it comes to captions and my username and things like that, I just could not figure out um, one to use. So I was like, well, when I first started, I'd never wanted to like do it for a living. That wasn't my intent. But I wanted to have like some sort of air of professionalism. So I said, well, Hoffman's my real last name. I'll just say Hoffman Virtual Photography. And I made it simple. And I just stuck with it because I felt like it was right after I put it there. I didn't want to change it. But yeah, it's my real last name.
And I have to admit, the fact that you said that is really curious because when I look at your pictures, when I look at both of your profiles, and when I sent you the invitation, I comment on this. Your profiles look really professional, and maybe that's because of the name, but also the quality of the pictures.
Well, I mean, when it came to like how I wanted to portray myself, I just like wanted it to be, I mean, I don't have a Flickr or anything like that, but if I could use my social media as like my Flickr page, that's how I wanted to portray that. So you'll find that I don't often tweet not a photo, or I don't really speak in too many conversations. I usually just post and that's about it. I try to interact with people. If I really enjoy someone's shots, I will comment on them, and I will like a lot of posts. But when it comes to what I wanted for the social media, um, I wanted it to be a photo page. I'm interested more as like I grow in followers for people to know more about myself and to get to know me behind the account. But yeah, I mean, my main goal was to really have it showcase my photos, and I wanted it to have that professionalism. So that's why I made it a very simple, but my real name, my layout on, Twitter, Instagram. I'll be fair, I haven't touched it very much, just because I find that Twitter is a lot more rewarding, at least with posts. You get more interaction, you get to know people better. I mean, when it was on Instagram, I would see people's usernames pop up, but I wouldn't know anything about them or how they feel about things. But um,
Curious because sorry to interrupt you, but
no,
that's
of course.
curious because I jumped into Instagram partly because of you, because
Oh,
I did some digging around, and you started your Instagram, at least your first post is from October 2018,
hmm
and your Twitter is from January 2019.
hmm
So we actually started in reverse. I started my Instagram, my Twitter on around October 2018, and then in January I created my Instagram because I saw your pictures on Twitter, and I
Wow.
was like, okay, I need to jump into Instagram.
Well, it's so funny how things work out that way. In October of 2018, what a time. It just seemed like the
Spider-Man
start.
was
Spider-Man was huge. God of War was huge. I mean, 2018 was a great year for gaming in general. But it's for me, Instagram was the first start, because you know, I had a friend recommend, because like I had taken some pictures just for my own enjoyment, and I was showing a friend, and he said, "Why don't you make a social media account with this?" I'm sure there are people that would be willing to see it, and I'm sure there's people that do this already. So try it out. And he said Instagram specifically because that's something that he used. So I was like, oh, I'll give it a try. I discovered that it's called virtual photography, and I went through the hashtags and I was like, wow, this is really cool. People have been doing this for a while. That's awesome. And I just jumped right in. Instagram seemed like the best starting off point because it's an image sharing platform. It's all about images. Um, my girlfriend does photography, IRL, and she uses Instagram a lot. So I knew that it was good for that sort of thing. As time goes on, I find it's less of that, but it was a logical starting point. And then moving to Twitter, I personally use Twitter just to keep up on current events, see funny tweets, things like that, just as my own enjoyment. And then seeing after one day I was like, well, I'm not really enjoying Instagram. Let me look into Twitter and search some of the people I already see on Instagram and see what that's like. And I see that the image quality is better. You can Instagram is weird. If you post too much, they'll like shadow ban you and you won't get any views or likes. Twitter doesn't seem to have that. I was like, well, this is great. This just seems like it
I,
solves
f-
all my problems from Instagram.
I find that Twitter is the opposite. The more you tweet, the more likely are people to see your content.
Exactly. Because I think with Instagram, I have no idea how their algorithm works or what have you. Because what I like about Twitter, and when I was in college, I'm a communications major. So looking into
Me
social
too.
media. Oh, fantastic! I did media studies. I did some. I changed my major many times, but I was a communications major in general for most of it. And I've studied film, social media, television, advertising, things like that. Um, what I
That's
like
really
about
cool
yeah, what
because
I like about
similar to me. Yeah,
yeah, no, absolutely. And what I like about Twitter is the retweet function is so important because when people follow you, I mean, with Instagram, if you like someone's post, all they do is they get the like. It's not really reciprocating anything unless you're specifically like sending it to someone via message or reposting, things like that. But you have to use a whole separate app for reposting. It's ridiculous. Retweet, it's just a simple button press, and you can share it to all of your viewers, all of your followers. And it's so great for sharing other people's work, especially if you really, really love it. A simple retweet can get that visibility out there because when it comes to, I think what we do, and I don't want to speak out of turn for anybody else because it's my opinion, but what matters most is the visibility, not just the likes and retweets. It's just you want people to see your work, and that's why you do it, because you want to share that. So I I I'm more I have almost abandoned my Instagram. I have to remind myself to go back and like post a few shots just to know people don't leave and think I'm inactive or that I'm still alive. So
I do. I
um,
do basically the same. I jump into Instagram early in the morning, do a post, leave, and only come back the next day to do the same. Very rarely comment or even like anyone's posts on Instagram. I just leave my photos there and I leave as quickly as possible.
exactly. I just because I know what I'll see on Instagram, I'll see on Twitter and enjoy it more. So
Yeah,
because I follow all the same
exactly.
people.
And that's super weird because I know you know him, Fire Scorpio. He had the same experience. He was
Yeah.
mainly on Instagram. Then he
Hmm.
jumped into Twitter, and it was like, okay, everything that I'm seeing on Instagram is happening on Twitter, but with more views.
Yeah.
So
And you can zoom into a photo, see all those details, get the full experience. I mean, Twitter has image compression as well. Every social media does, but it's like you can actually see the quality of the image as opposed to Instagram. It looks like you like screenshotted it a few times and then posted it.
yeah, that,
But
that's that's spot on what I feel about Instagram. It's like you print, then you post. Yeah,
yeah, and it
the
feels
image,
disconnected too. Yeah.
and it's hard to connect. Like you can see. if I comment someone's picture on Twitter and jump right in, and it feels natural. On Instagram,
Yeah.
you don't get that experience. You don't see only my comment. To see my comment, you really have to go to the person's post. You have to scroll down, and if you comment below, it's like, at least for me, I feel always like I'm invading that conversation.
No,
Like,
I absolutely I completely understand. The way I feel about Instagram is like it's like you're it's funny. For some reason, Instagram feels so disconnected. Maybe it's because all you can share is images and captions. You can't really have a moment to say, "Hey, I made this joke," or "Hey, I have this thought." But it seems like it's funny. If you're looking at a piece of art on Instagram and you comment, it seems like you're talking to the piece of art and not the person. But on Twitter, it seems like you're talking directly to the person. But that's
yeah,
how I view it. So
yeah, but that's a cool way to put it, and yeah, that's exactly it. Like, you're talking to the picture. Yeah, that
yeah,
funny too that we never chatted that much, but we shared same views on at least social media.
yes,
So
and education with
yeah,
communication.
yeah. Uh, did you start with Spider-Man, or did you shot before that?
So my start into virtual photography is kind of blurry because I before I ever started doing it consistently, I would do it on and off for a couple games. The I would take screenshots in Skyrim. I would turn the HUD off and get, these scenic views or, landscape shots. I would Shadow of the Colossus was one I started doing a little bit before I went super deep into it. But the first game I actually really started taking photos in before I knew anything about this wanting to be a hobby of mine or there's a community out there was Need for Speed 2015. It's I I just really enjoyed that game and I played the heck out of it. I was doing all the races, things like that, and I would just drive around for fun. There's an open world. I wouldn't do any races. I would just drive around and cruise. And then I found that there was a photo mode and I was like, "Oh, this is pretty cool." Like take pictures of my customized cars that I took. And then they had for that specific game, you could post it to like the photo mode community inside the game where you can look at posts and see how many likes it gets in the game. It's like it was its own internal social media. It was interesting. But I took a lot of pictures of that because I thought the game looked good and I thought it was fun. I'm not even that into cars, but I just thought it was cool. And I took so many pictures in that. And I, for a long time, I paused because I wasn't doing that in other games because I didn't think that that was a thing in other games. Um, when Spider-Man came out, a lot of I'm losing my memory here. Did God of War come out or Spider-Man come out first?
God of War came out in April, Spider-Man in September, but the same
Okay,
year.
so I actually started in God of War before Spider-Man, but it was just to try it out, and I was like, oh, maybe I'll make a cool picture. Some of them just did not turn out good. I didn't know how to work with the photo mode in the right way. I didn't know how to make something look good. Although there was one shot that convinced me, and it's on my Instagram. There's one shot that convinced me to keep doing it or that I had some sort of talent in it. And it's this one shot at the very beginning of, I think it's still on my Instagram. I know I did a repost later on, but it's inside the cave when you're doing kind of those puzzles to make the crane come down. Um,
Yeah.
it's inside the cave. It's Kratos looking up, and the background is completely dark. But because he has the Bifrost, he
Yeah.
he's lit up, so he looks separate from the background. And
I I used that same spot with that same light in my last playthrough of God of War to take the black background shots.
e- exactly, and I was like, wow, this looks like a promotional image. This looks like something the game they would have like screenshots and text next to Kratos. Like you would see this as an image like that. And I was like, okay, maybe I got something here. and I was really impressed with that shot. Little did I know that I would make things I would think far more better. But
That
I
that's curious because your God of War pictures, like I was replaying recently the God of War after I
mhm,
finished Ghost of Tsushima, and I went into your Instagram, I went into your Twitter to get inspired to know exactly, because
wow,
I don't usually take photos of Kratos, but people were asking me to.
ah,
So I went into some photographers that I think do really awesome shots of Kratos, and you are one of them. And
wow,
that's
thank you.
really interesting because you at the start you weren't like feeling it, but now you are someone that inspires me to take good photos.